What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG TCG video. Today, guys, we are going to be going over some new cards for Sherry LeBlanc. Now, before we get into discussion, I need to explain something in regards to her cards. As you all may well know, as I've mentioned it in two other videos, Legendary Duelist set had three characters that was going to get support. Those three characters being Yuto, Rory, and Sherry. And now, although Sherry did get support, she did get support in another set. In Animation Chronicle 2021, we did find out that she was going to have some cards in there as well. So, what this video is going to be is only focused on the Animation Chronicle 2021 cards for her specifically. We will still go over Sherry's cards in the Legendary Duelist set, but that will be in another video. That way we can keep everything structured and we're not just combining two sets together. I feel like it would be better just to talk about it in its product and just go from there afterwards. So I wanted just to kind of explain that just in case people kind of got confused and why I didn't talk about any of the cards from the Legendary Duelist set. That's just because it's going to be in its own separate video. But this video is only going to be focused on her cards in Animation Chronicles. So, with that all said and done, I think I've gotten everything that I really needed to talk about. Without further ado, let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it. So we're going to do it as normal. We're going to go over the monsters in the extra deck, then the spell and trap cards. Also, just to mention this as well, these cards are going to be from two duels that Sherry has participated in the duel against Yusei and then the duel against Aki and Crow, as those were the only duels that we saw on screen other than one other duel, but it kind of was getting cut, so I guess they didn't really want to count that one. Plus, probably most of her cards were from that. That's what just Yugioh said, which is where I get my information for these cards. So, just wanted to kind of mention that real quick when going over these cards. So, let's get into it. So, the first card we're going over is Noble Knight's Shield Bearer. It's a level 4 light warrior effect monster with 800 attack and 1300 defense. Its effect is you can only use either the first or second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. The first effect is if this card is normal or special summon, you can banish one light monster from your graveyard to draw one card. So basically you can get a +1 by banishing a light monster from your graveyard. So that's pretty interesting of an effect. You would have to have a light monster in your graveyard to do that, which I'm assuming with this deck you will be playing light monsters. I don't know. I feel like you would only use this effect if you have a light warrior, or not light warrior, it can be any light monster. If you just have a dead light monster in your graveyard, you're not going to be able to bring it back or don't need to bring it back. It's a good way to get a free card, so pretty cool. And then you can banish this card from your hand or face-up field, add one level 6 or lower wind beast monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, so I guess this can generate you a card in your deck that you need either for a synchro summon or a fusion summon. We do know that there is a fusion in the set, so maybe this helps you get one of the materials. I don't know much of this deck, so I do apologize if I'm a little weary on this, because I don't know if this effect is... Well, the effect is good because you're searching a specific card that you want, depending on what you want to go into. Sure, you have to banish this card from your hand or face-up field, which probably most of the time you're going to do the hand. That way you don't waste a normal summon, because I don't know how much special summoning you really do with this deck, but... Overall, I don't think this is really that bad of a card. You can get a +1 by banishing a light, and then you can search for one of your targets for whatever play you want to go into. So, that's actually not that bad an effect, in my opinion. Up next, we got Horse of the Floral Knights, a level 3 wind beast effect monster with 400 attack and 800 defense. Actually, one of the targets for the last monster we went over, so let's see what this card does. You can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn, so the second effect can do more. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one light Noble Knight monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, so this is a way to search for your monsters. You can actually search the last monster that we talked about, so these two kind of play with each other. You can use the last card to get this card, and you can use this card to get the other one. So I guess they have a synergy with each other of getting each other into the player's hand. And its second effect is once per turn. Oh, okay, so this is just a soft once per turn. You can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including this card on the field. Okay, so you do have to summon this card. Well, no, obviously if it has a once per turn like that, it would have to. Okay, so this is basically like your polymerization of the deck. You can use this card and be able to go into your fusion summon. We'll get to the fusion in a second, but it doesn't seem like it specifically targets that monster, so it can be any fusion monster as long as it fits the requirements. So honestly, that's not a bad effect either. You can search one of the light noble knight monsters, you can go in your plays, and you have your own built-in polymerization into this card. Not a bad card, in my opinion. And this is the final monster in the main deck. And that monster is Noble Knight's Spearholder. So I guess you got another search target as well. It's a level 2 light warrior effect monster with 800 attack and 400 defense. And you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one level 8 or lower monster you control until the end phase. Its name becomes Fleur. Okay, so maybe, or Fleur Synchron. Also, it is treated as a turn. Let me actually read the full effect of that, excuse me. Okay, so I guess this is a way to go into when you, so you target a level 8 or lower monster. So you can target any monster. I think the Synchro monster does require Fleur Synchron, which, by the way, it's not released in this set, very surprisingly. Actually, this is a little bit fun fact into looking in the other set, that the Synchro monster, the original one, is actually in that set. Funny enough, I don't know why it's not in this set as a reprint, but I guess that's what they decide. So, it's an interesting effect. I mean, if a monster requires Fleur Synchron, that makes it very versatile and using one of your other cards. That way you don't specifically have to have Fleur Synchron. You can target any one of your monsters, make it Fleur Synchron, and then you can go into your synchro plays and make it a little bit easier. So that's not that bad. And then you contribute this card, add one equipped spell from your deck to your hand. Okay, so this is a way to have an equipped spell. I guess it depends on the equipped spell. I guess I'm going to assume that means we're going over some equipped spells as well. But I guess it depends. I mean, with Noble Knights, their whole gimmick is equipped cards. So for a Noble Knights card and how they work, that's actually not that bad. Being able to grab one of your equipped spells and being able to go in your plays with the equipped spells. Because that's the whole gimmick with Noble Knights, is summoning the monsters and using the vast variety of their equipped spells. So I mean, equipped spells are not, from decks that I've seen these days, not really used that much, but honestly, being able to search an equipped spell, I guess if you specifically need an equipped spell for your situation, I guess it's fine, but you really don't see people play equipped spells, so I don't know. It's a decent monster for being able to make the Fleur Synchron. That way, for specific targets that require Fleur Synchron, you can use this Spearholder card. That way, you can make anything become Fleur Synchron. That way, you're not just forced to use that specific Synchron monster for your synchro plays. So, I feel like that's probably the effect you're going to use most of the time, but I don't know, maybe if there's a really good equipped spell you can use, then maybe the second effect, but I feel like this first effect is going to be probably the one you're going to use the most. In my opinion, of course. Now we're getting into the extra deck portion of this, and we are going to be going over the only extra deck monster, Centaur Mina, which is actually a card I actually remember from her duel against Yusei. So let's see what this card does. It's a level 6 light beast warrior fusion effect monster with 2200 attack and 1600 defense. Its materials is 1 light warrior monster plus 1 beast monster. Okay, they made it a little bit more generic. I actually do remember the effect of this card. I think it was only its original effect had something to do with trap cards, so we'll see what that is, though looking at it, it actually has more effects. Also, its summoning requirements in the anime were so much more strict. I think you actually had to have specific monsters to summon this card. So making this more generic, I like it. You have to have a light warrior monster and a beast monster, so they kind of keep it closer to the original one, but at least it's a little bit more balanced. But we have the targets you can use. You have Spearholder, you have the Horse of the Four Knights, so you can actually use those cards that we got from this set to make this card, so that's pretty good. And you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. Its first effect is during your main phase, you can special summon one level 2 or lower monster from your hand or graveyard, so you can get the Spearholder back and maybe go into a synchro play since you can make something a Floral Synchron. Its second effect is once per turn when your opponent activates a trap card during your turn, quick effect, you can negate the activation. If you do, set that card. This is the one I remember. Not really useful. The thing is, these days you don't really see trap cards used that much, so I don't know. And plus, it sets the card back. If it destroyed or banished a card, it would have been a lot better, but send the card to where they can just activate the card again if they get rid of this card on the field, so I don't know, it's not really that good of an effect. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material for a Wind Warrior monster, you can destroy one face-up monster on the field. That effect is not that bad, so you can use this monster, sync it off into one of your synchro monsters, then you get to pop up a face-up monster on the field. That's not a bad effect. I feel like there is a benefit to summoning this card. Sure, it does have a little bit of some specific monsters you have to do, but it's still generic enough to where it's playable. So, honestly, this monster's not that bad. If this was the original anime, this card would be garbage. I'm serious about that. That's not an over-exaggeration because its anime effect only had the second effect and it had specific materials for the card. So, very, very glad that they updated this card to be actually playable. So, pretty happy with this card, to be honest. Now we're getting into the spells of this deck. There's only 2 spells in this deck. There is actually no traps in this, so these are going to be the last 2 cards we're going to go over. And the first card we're going to go over is the field spell card, El Dizone. El Dizone? I believe that's how you pronounce that card, or the way you're supposed to say that card. I do remember this card. Now we're starting to get into that Aki and Crow duel. And this was like the field spell that she used to make Aki and Crow duel against each other, so it's pretty interesting. Its effect is you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. Its first effect is, if the turn player summons exactly one monster, destroy that monster, and if you do, special summon one mass token, spellcaster, dark level 1, attack, question mark, defense, question mark, to the destroyed monster's controllers, the field. That's a weird way it's written. Its attack and defense become the attack and defense the destroyed monster had on the field, but it cannot attack directly. And the second effect is, if this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all mass tokens on the field. I don't know. This card is weird, because although this does disrupt your opponent, because with archetypes being a big thing in decks these days, it can screw up their plays because forcing that card to be destroyed, and also this is a once per turn, by the way, so people can still special summon a whole bunch of monsters onto the field, and this is a hard once per turn, so you can't just like keep going through it, which you can anyway, but I don't know, this effect is not really that good. I mean, it also hurts you too, unless I guess this card is just trying to make it to where you just play a whole bunch of high attack point monsters and trying to have the tokens battle over each other. I guess that's what this card is trying to do. Not really that good in my opinion. I really do not see this card being played at all, especially since if the field spell gets destroyed, it destroys all mass tokens. So if someone is able to get rid of that card, you destroys your tokens as well as theirs, which they probably won't care. Then it can go into place and just wipe you out. Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, this is not really that good of a card. And the final card we're going to be going over is the field spell card, Soulbinding Gate. And these are field spells, so the one monster that said it targets equipped spells, it doesn't even work with the spell cards that you got, so I don't know, that is a little bit weird, but I guess that's what they decided. This card is, activate this card if you control no monsters and a set spells trap cards you control was destroyed by card effects this turn. Its first effect is, during the main phase, if exactly one monster is summoned whose attack is lower than your life points and zone is in your graveyard, destroy that monster, and if you do, take 800 damage, then inflict 800 to your opponent. You know how I said that last card was bad? This card is worse than that card. for a multitude of reasons. First off, just to use this card is way too specific. Now, to be fair, going back to what I was talking about with the last card, in fact, this is how the anime went. When when an opponent destroys the zone, Sherry used this card to basically put it in a sense, since their life points were lower, to try to get rid of their life points. And even her life points at the same time. I remember the actual scolding, grabbing her and picking her up. But that's way too specific just to use in card. And then the effect is even bad as well. Because not only does your life points have to be lower than the attack points of the monster, but you also have to have zone in your graveyard. Why is this card so specific? Not only just for its summon, but to use its effect. And all it does is deal 800 damage to you and your opponent. I will say too, it's also bad too, is because the attack has to be lower than your life points. And you're losing life points at the same time. So yes, to be fair, cards these days do have lower attack points because people use them more for their effects. But if this was more to where it can just be a monster, not just having attack points, it would be better. It would still be a garbage card because of it being way, way, way too specific. This card is just bad. Like, there's no beating around this. This card is just really, really bad. There is so much wrong with this card, but it's a cool reference. Those two cards were cool references, but man, the spell cards in these decks were really bad, in my opinion. But that's going to be it for all the Sherry's cards in Animation Chronicles. Personal thoughts. Say this, the spell sucked. The fusion had potential, and the other cards maybe have some potential. I feel like, again, I don't really know much about the deck, so I don't know if they're really that good. I like the Spearholder being able to make it a floor synchro, and that way you can make your plays easier, though I don't know if this synchro monster is that good. I honestly don't remember the synchro monster that well, because I don't even remember that. I know that card isn't in a set. It was a game promo, I think, for one of the Tag Force games. I can't honestly remember that. I think these cards are okay, except for the spell cards. But, I don't know. I feel like this is not, like, game-changing cards at all. I like how the first two cards, or actually all three of the cards, can search off of each other. Well, the first two can search off each other. The horse can actually just search Spearholder if you want to try to go into your, I think it's called Chevalier de Fleur, I think was the synchro monster. So it makes it easier to go into that, because I think Fleur Synchron is required for that monster, so I guess it makes it an easier way to summon that card, but I don't know, I don't really feel satisfied. I think the only satisfying card is the fusion monster. Like, don't get me wrong, the other cards are not that bad at being able to surge off of each other, but I don't know, the only card I really see potential is the first two in this card. And it may be Spearholder if equipped spells are a little bit more, like, related, I guess, more used, because I don't know if you're gonna really need a monster to be Fleur Synchron. I guess maybe if the new fusion or the new synchro monster is that, because not even the fusion monster requires that, so I don't know, that effect, I guess, is just too situational, I guess. I feel like the first two cards and the fusion card were probably the highlights of this, but I don't know. It's cool cards, I will say that, though. I never thought I would be doing a video on Sherry LeBlanc's cards, so I guess that's a plus, though. It's really cool that we're getting these cards, but I don't know. Again, it's just those three cards I thought were just the good ones. The spell cards sucked, not getting around that. But, guys, that's going to be it for this discussion. Let me know what you guys think of these cards. Do you like these cards? Do you think they're okay? Or do you think they're garbage? Let me know what you just think of Sherry just getting support, and this is a little bit ahead. If you do know what the other cards are, you can say it in this video, or you can wait until I do that video and then give your opinion, but I want you guys to let me know in the comments below which set had the better Sherry LeBlanc set. I could honestly tell just from this set that probably the Legendary Duelist set will be better, because I've heard so much good things about that set, and I'm actually very excited to go in this set. Not saying I was not excited to go into this set. I mean, again, it's pretty cool that Sherry's getting support, but I don't know. I wish some of these cards could have been a little bit better, in my opinion, especially the spell cards. I'm sorry. I know I'm keep repeating myself with that, but I was so disappointed in that. Wow. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.